Hi guys, this is Scott from Midwestern Reloaders again. So today's video, we're going to talk about a couple of different things. This is a question that I have been asked several times. I know a lot of other people have asked this question, and we're going to try to answer it the best we can today. And that is, can I have a rifle that I take deer hunting, and take to the range and be able to shoot 200-300 yards and do it accurately? And I'm going to look at you and I'm going to say, yes, you can. So let's talk first a little bit about price point, because, in the days that we live in today, the grocery store is not getting any cheaper. It's getting expensive to live. And a lot of people can't afford to buy a rifle for hunting, a rifle for shooting paper. They can't afford several different types of ammunition. It's hard. And I get that. I get that more than anybody. I'm disabled and live on limited income, so I get it. I have several rifles, but most of those were bought back when I was working, or I saved up for them, or like I said in my one video, done trading for them, trade out some work for this or that, or trade some stuff that I have for it, whatnot. But anyways, nonetheless, I've acquired a couple things. But for the sake of this video, let's say that we want a sporter rifle that we can take out to the field and hunt deer and take to the range and be able to shoot, let's just say 300 yards, and do it reasonably accurately. So a couple of things that we're going to go through. Number one is ammunition. We're going to go through recoil. We're going to go through price point. And then we're going to go through availability. So let's talk about recoil first. I can't take a lot of recoil. I've had a couple of shoulder surgeries, and the large calibers, I can't shoot them anymore. They create so much pain that after one or two shots, I'm just done. So me personally, I shoot a 308. And the 308 that I have is a precision rifle. It's heavy, and because it's heavy, doesn't have a lot of recoil, which a Sporter 308 doesn't have a lot of recoil anyways. But you're going to want something, if you're going deer hunting, you're only shooting 2 or 3, 4, maybe 5 rounds a year, it doesn't matter as much. You're going out there, you're making hopefully one shot at the deer falls, you're done. But if you're going to the range and you want to be serious about getting accuracy and accurate on the range at even 300 yards, it's something that you're going to have to be able to take to the range, and you're going to have to be able to put, 30, 40, 50, 60, even 100 rounds in a day, and be able to go home and not ice your shoulder up all week, and live with Ben Gay. It is, so, think about that. Also, you guys that hunt and you want your girlfriends, your wives to hunt with you or go to the range with you. Now, I'll be honest. I have seen some small-framed women at a lot of the matches that I've been to that can absorb the recoil from a 300 Winchester mag better than any man I've ever seen. And I'll tell you what, I tip my hats off to them, because they're better than me. 300 Winchester mag without a muzzle brake or something on it, it's got some kick. But anyways, so we're back to recoil. So, if you want your wives and girlfriends to hunt, you're not going to want to put them on a rifle with heavy recoil, because they're going to shoot it once. They're going to be afraid of it. They're never going to want to shoot anything again. They're going to look at you and say, no, last time I shot something you had, it hurt me and I didn't like it and I had no fun. Put them into something that when they take to the range, the worst thing that happens to them is they get scared by the first bang, not by the kick of the rifle. They're like, oh, that was really loud. It kind of scared me. Well, did it hurt your shoulder? Well, no, just the bang. It scared me. Okay, well, you know what the bang is now. You know, we have good ear protection in. Let's try another one. And, you know, now that you know it's going to go bang, ready yourself for that. And then go from there. You know, there are a lot of guys out there in my same situation that can't take a lot of recoil. That's what it is. A lot of guys don't want to go out and shoot a large caliber, you know, 80 to 100 rounds and come home with their shoulder hurting and have to go up and go to work the next day. They just don't want to. They don't find it enjoyable. I feel you. I don't want to do it either. So remember that when you're looking for a caliber. Don't think that you have to have a 300 Winchester mag to shoot 300 yards. It's just simply not true. So the second thing we're going to look at is availability. So let's talk about ammunition first. If you don't reload, is there any companies out there that make good ammunition just for target range? There are. Two off the top of my head is Federal and Hornady. They both make a match ammunition that most rifles shoot well. But it doesn't come cheap. You know, are you going to want to go to the range and shoot a rifle that may cost you $60 for 20 rounds of ammunition? You know, most people, you're going to shoot 5 or 6 rounds and say, okay, that's good enough for that gun. I can shoot 5 or 6 rounds the next week, you know, because I can only afford to buy 1 box of ammunition a month. You know, it's going to get expensive. So, is all match ammunition that expensive? No, it's not. Some of your smaller calibers have a little bit cheaper ammunition, but even by that sense, good match ammunition isn't going to be fairly inexpensive. It's going to be one of the most expensive ammunitions on the shelf. Good reason being, it's high quality ammunition. They're putting a lot of science, a lot of study, and they're putting the absolute best loads in it, best bullets in it for accuracy, and you know, that's what you get. So for instance, let's just say that we're talking about weapons that we're going to reload for. So you're going to want mainly bullet availability, because you're not always going to want to shoot your hunting loads at the range. You know, if you can get a hunting load that's shooting 1.5 inches at 100 yards, you're good for deer. You know, you're great. You know, you're shooting a football-sized target. You don't need to be able to stack bullets on top of bullets to shoot a deer at 100 yards or even 200 yards. You just want to be reasonably accurate with it and reasonably consistent with it to be able to hunt deer. Now, if you're shooting on the range, you know, you're going to want something more accurate to get better success on paper. So you may want to go with 2 or 3 different bullets. And some of the calibers don't have a lot of choices to choose from. So I have 4 calibers that I'm going to talk about today that are really good calibers. They are all deer killers, and they are all very accurate rifles. And if you reload or if you don't reload, they're not going to totally break the bank. But if you reload, you're going to be able to get a lot of different powders that are going to work well with these rifles. You're going to find a lot of powders that work with all of them. You're going to find a lot of different bullets. So let's dig into that. And you know, the first thing I do when I'm looking for a new caliber is I grab my manual and I just start looking through it to see what bullets and bullet choices I have to offer from. Now this is my lineman manual, so it's not going to list every bullet out there because there's just not enough paper. You'd have a book this thick. But it's going to do the main point. So let's talk about sporter rifles. So we're going to have to stay above and below. We're going to have to stay above the smallest and below the biggest because most sporter rifles are made for hunting. They're not made to carry the extremely small or the biggest of bullets out there. They're made for, shooting deer, especially these calibers that I'm speaking of. And, in order to shoot the lighter or the heavier, you're going to have a different twist in your barrel to make them shoot it accurately. The first one we're going to talk about is 270 Winchester. And I know I'm going to have all kinds of people clapping their hands because 270 Winchester's been around for a good long time. And guys, it is a great caliber. It is a long action. It's basically a 30-06 neck down to 27 caliber. It is absolutely a great deer gun, a great elk gun. If you want to go out on an elk hunt, not a problem. No problem. As long as you do your part and your rifle's sighted in and you do everything that you're supposed to do and do it right, you're going to have a dead elk. It will be. Same thing with deer. I mean, it is a great caliber. On the range, 270 is very well known to be a very accurate rifle. So let's look at bullet choices. So this is just going to list, it's not going to list the bullet maker. It's going to list the bullet by weight and type. It's not going to say whether it's a Hornady or a Spear or a Nosler. It's not going to say that. It is just going to say, like this here, 130 grain bullet. It's what it is. This is not a major bullet manufacturer's manual, and that's why I like it, because it's going to say bullet choice. It's going to say this bullet, and you can pretty much say that any bullet you get in this construction and this weight, you're going to be able to load to these specifications. So we're not going to list the 90 grain, and we're not going to list the 100 grain, because most sporter rifles, or even the 110 grain, most sporter rifles aren't going to be able to shoot them accurately because they're going to be a twist rate for somewhere between 120, maybe 160, probably more like the 150. So we're gonna basically point on them. So starting out, 130 grain, you have a jacketed soft point boat tail or Spitzer boat tail. You have 140 grain jacketed Spitzer boat tail soft point. You have 150 grain jacketed soft point. You have 160 grain jacketed soft point. And, these are just very, very few of what they have. We get into Hornady, we get into Nosler, and they're going to have a whole slew of a lot more bullets in different sizes than these, different weights, different constructions. You're going to have the Match King, you have Match King boat tail, hollow points, soft points. You're going to have the E-tipped bullets. Hornady, same thing. You're going to have, the V-Maxes. You're going to have the Interbond. You're going to have core lockets. You're just going to have this massive variety of bullets, and there is so many different bullet and configurations with a 270. So they're there, and they're not horribly expensive. I mean, when you start getting up in the Barnes, triple shock, whatnot, they're a little more expensive, but they're also designed for a specific purpose. And if that's the purpose you want to use them for, heavier game, they're well worth their money because you don't want to send a projectile through the air and hit an animal and just wound it rather than killing it because it didn't perform as well as it should have for that particular animal. So, but anyways, you're going to be able to find these bullets. You're going to be able to find a slew of variations of all these. And they're going to work good in the field, and they're going to work good on the range. You're going to be able to find a load. You may find that you may want to use 140 grain deer hunting because it has a little more stopping power. But let's just say every load that you try, you're getting, let's just for instance say you're getting 1.25 inches at 100 yards group, which is not bad. It's not bad at all, especially for deer hunting. You're shooting at the size of a football. 1.25 inches is definitely within those parameters. Even at 200 yards, it's definitely within those parameters. And you want the 140 grain for the stopping power. Great. But let's say you go to the range and you load up and you find out that 130 grain, you find you can shoot, let's just say 3/4 inch. Well, that's what you're going to want to use on the range. And, you might even be able to use the same powder and maybe just a little bit different weight, but just that bullet performs better in that rifle. And that's going to happen. You're going to find, you may find 140 grain in Hornady, and every Hornady you try doesn't work well. And you switch over to Sierra, and all of a sudden you find 140 grain Game King that shoots fabulously in your rifle. It happens. So, don't be afraid to try a few different bullets. Even if they don't perform as well as what you'd planned on the range, you can still use them for hunting bullets. Make loads out of them and use them for deer hunt. If you have 200 or 300 bullets that didn't perform as well as you thought they should on the range, but still performed well, now you've got, a few years worth of hunting bullets. Don't throw them away. You can still use them. They're still quite usable. So there is all kinds of stuff for the 270 Winchester. There are several different powders that you can use to load for it. And it's a great caliber, and it doesn't have a lot of recoil. It is pretty mild when it comes to recoil. The second caliber we're going to talk about, a lot of people like to underestimate this caliber. I had one for several years, and like a big dummy, I got rid of it. I never should have. But we're going to talk about a 7mm .08. So 7mm .08 is a 308 case neck down to a 7mm bullet. And guys, this is, if people look at you and say a 7mm .08 won't kill a deer at 100 yards, laugh at them, because it absolutely will. I mean, up to 300 yards, you're not going to have a problem as long as you do what you're supposed to do. But there are a lot of different bullets for this. Just to list a few, where it goes down to 120 grain, which a sporter rifle should be able to fire. I actually shot a 139 grain in mine. I did not use mine a lot on the range. Mine was mainly a hunting rifle, but it shot 139 grain, and I don't remember the powder that I was using, but I do know that I was getting just over a 1-inch group at 100 yards. So not bad by any means, actually very good for a hunting rifle. That's what it was made for. That's what I designated it for, and it performed very well. So let's talk, you have 120 grains, you have 139 grains, you have 154 grains, 168 grains, 162, 175. And this is just what this manual gives. Now you're going to go into Hornady, you're going to go into Sierra, you're going to go into Nosler. You're going to find a whole slew of other bullets in these grains and a few in these weights and a few others. A lot of different availability in bullets in this caliber. And it is very low on the recoil side. Recoil-wise, it is about the same as the 243. We're going to talk about the 243 next. Guys, a little story. Back when I very first started hunting, when I turned 16 years old, my dad allowed me to go down to the local hunting club that we had in our area. And I had worked and saved up the money to pay my dues to be able to go to the hunting club. And they had, I don't know, several thousand acres or several hundreds of acres to hunt. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to join that so I had a good place to hunt, because I didn't have property or any place to hunt. And at 16 years old, it was just cool. And, you know, I showed up with my little old Savage 243. And this has been, you know, more than 3 years ago. It's been, well, like 30 years ago. You know, the guys laughed at me. And I still remember that, you know, 243, man, what are you doing out here with a squirrel gun trying to shoot deer? You can't kill a deer with a 243. You got to have a, you know, 30-06 or a 300 Winchester mag. You know, 243 is just not big enough. I knew different. I'd been using this rifle since I was 12 years old on my granddad's property when he was around, and I'd shot many deer with it. I knew it was capable. But just having them guys tell me, oh, it's just not, and still being quite young and impressionable, I went home very upset. And guys, I don't want that for you. I want you to be able to choose your caliber. I want you to be able to use your caliber. And don't let the naysayers say anything against it. A 243 will absolutely kill deer. It's got plenty enough power to do that. They're very accurate rifles. You know, you can get a lot of good bullets for 243 if you know, when you want to go to the range. You know, we're not going to talk about a 58 grain, because in a 243, in a sporter rifle, you're not going to shoot the 58 grain bullets accurately. Your sporter barrel, that's not what it's made for. So we're going to, you know, start out at probably around the 75 grain. You know, they have 75, 70, 75 grain, 80, 85, 90, 100, all the way up to 105. And, you know, a lot of my friends that hunt with a 243 hunt with between the 85 grain and 100 grain. And most of them guys, when they shoot deer, there's not a lot of tracking. They're good at placing. They're also using a very well-constructed bullet made for shooting deer that has good expansion capabilities, good weight retention, and they're making good shots. And guys, most of the time they're not tracking deer far. It's very well suited for deer. You know, and there again, this is just listing these bullets. You're going to get into all the other bullet manufacturers, and you're going to find all kinds of good bullets. And just like the same thing as the other calibers, you may find one for hunting, and you may find a different one for the range. That's okay. That's what most people do. So don't be afraid of that caliber. It is a lot of availability of factory ammunition. And, you know, a lot of availability for reloading. More availability for reloading than factory ammunition. That's the way most calibers are. You know, the next one we're going to talk about is it will kill deer. Okay? Is it completely suited for it? No. But it has killed a lot of deer in its lifetime. If you are a new shooter or a new hunter, I would not at all recommend this. If you are a very skilled hunter, a good shooter, and you are very adamant about very good shot placement, then I would say, you know, you're capable. And that is the 223 Remington. Yep. .223 Remington has a slew of bullets you can go from. You can go all the way from 36 grain up to the 55 grain. Well, you can go up to actually 80 grain now, I believe, is what the I know I have some 69 grains that I'm going to be trying out soon. But most of your sporter rifles are going to shoot between the 50 to 52 up to, I'm going to say 60, 63 grain. Most of your .223 Remington sporter barrels love the 55 grain. So let's keep it between those. We're gonna, we start out at 50 grain. They have 50 grain, 52 grain, 55 grain, 60 grain, 69 grain, 63 grain, 75, 77, 80. And it just goes up. 69. This one goes up to 80. But there again, in between the other bullet manufacturers, you're going to find several others. And .223 bullets, for the .223 Remington aren't expensive. They're pretty cheap. And you can get a lot of shots out of powder. So when you take it to the range, and it has basically no recoil. So you're going to be able to take it to the range, you're going to be able to shoot quite a bit and not break the bank. You're not going to hurt your shoulder. Your girlfriend, your wife, your kids are going to be able to shoot it and not veer away from it from recoil. And as long as you have good shot placement, you can use it for deer. It is adequate for deer. A lot of people will tell you no, it's not, but I know a lot of people that have killed deer with .223. You're looking at one of them. It'll do it, and it'll do it well, and it's a great gun on the range. And .223s are very accurate little rifles. Now there's a lot of calibers in here that we didn't touch, but there are definitely calibers you're going to want to stay away from. Especially in sporter rifles that you want to use for deer hunting and such. You get into the .223 Remington Magnum or the .223 Winchester Short Magnum, even the .270 Winchester Short Magnum or the .300 Winchester Short Mag, or there are just a lot of calibers that have limited ammunition. Do they have limited bullets? Some of them. Another great caliber that I didn't mention that used to not have a large selection of bullets that selection is really coming up in, is the 25-06, which is a 30-06 neck down to a 25 caliber. Another great gun, low recoil, super, super accurate, that you can reload for. Ammunition has, you can find ammunition much easier now than you could years back because it's gained a lot of popularity. But 25-06 is a great caliber, low recoil, a great deer round. I could say that about a lot of different calibers. I'm just basically touching on a lot of the known calibers right now, the main calibers used by a vast number of the people out there. But again, we're gonna say it again. You can take a sporter rifle to the field and hunt with it, and you can take it to the range and shoot. Now, here's the thing, guys. You're gonna take a sporter rifle to the range. You are probably not gonna get precision accuracy out of the sporter rifle. Now, I say that, and I know several people that do. Walker, for instance, his .223 that he has, he's finding out that it's a sporter rifle, but man, is it accurate. have several friends that have very nice little rifles that print very well. You know, a Savage, I'll say a Savage Access, is by far one of the most accurate rifles out of the box. Is it the prettiest thing? No, they're not horribly pretty. I don't think they look bad. I really like my Savages. Most of what I own is Savage. You know, there are a few small things that people like to gripe about. But if we're talking about budget, let's talk about budget for a second. You know, I personally can tell you, I do not have the money to go out and pay, you know, let's just say $1,000 or more on just a rifle. Do I have some rifles that cost that much? Yes, I do, but it's not something that I bought recently. It's something that I saved years for. My 223 that I have, my Savage Access 2 XP, which I ordered a barrel for and put this barrel on. You know, I saved for 6 years to buy that rifle. You know, I had to shoot something else in between. I had a little Savage 243 that I loaded my own ammo for. I had a little Savage 22-250, and both of them were sporter rifles. I had a Savage Access, no, I take it back. I had a Savage 110 308. That was my deer rifle for several years, and I loaded. It was a sporter rifle, and I took them to the range. And guys, they were pretty darn accurate, you know. And there are not saying Savage is the only one. There are a lot of budget rifles out there that you can get that are very accurate. I like Savage due to price point, reliability, and accuracy. That's what I look for when I buy a rifle. I look at, is it accurate, is it dependable, and is it affordable? That's it. I don't care. I gave up a long time ago whether people thought my rifle was a good looking rifle or not. I just don't care anymore, because all I'm worried about is when I'm going to the field, I'm worried about putting meat on the table. When I'm going to the range, I'm worried about putting the best print that I can down. And guys, just because your rifle's pretty doesn't make it shoot good. Now, is there anything wrong with having a pretty rifle? Absolutely not. I'm not saying that at all. If you can afford that rifle and have it look good and shoot good, I am very happy for you. I say go for it. That's why they're made. But this video here is, we're talking about doing this on a budget. And, you know, guys, just keep that in point. Don't think that you have to go borrow money to get a rifle that you can deer hunt and go to the range with. You don't have to. You know, get some reloading equipment. And here very soon we are going to go through all the basic tools of what you need to start reloading. And guys, there are a lot of sites out there where you can get good used equipment at a pretty decent price and get into reloading for not a whole lot of money. You know, you don't have to go spend $1,000 to reload one caliber. If that's what you want to do, by all means, go ahead. Again, that's why they make the products. You know, if you look at me, I use 2 single-stage presses. I got both these presses used. They work fantastic. I've been using them for 10 years. Never had a problem with them. You know, but like I say, you can get into it relatively inexpensively. But here's the big thing: choosing a caliber. You know, what is going to be excuse me, what is going to be best suited for you? Are you the type of person that can't take a large recoil? If so, even a 30-06 has got, you know, it's not extremely heavy on recoil, but it's got a decent thump. You know, so is that something that you're going to be able to take to the range and shoot a whole lot of rounds through and not feel it when you come home from the show, in the shoulder when you come home from the range? If you're a new shooter, no, you're going to feel it until you get used to it. Some people never get used to it. Some people just aren't able to shoot a larger caliber. It's okay. That's why they make smaller ones. Availability. Do you have access to reloading equipment? Do you have space to be able to set up a place to reload? If you're in a small apartment, if you live in a small apartment, and that's what you have, and that's what you're able to afford, you're probably not going to be able to have much room to set up to reload. So you're going to have rely on factory ammunition. So therefore, you're going to want a caliber that's not going to over budget you when buying ammunition. So all these things need to go into account and think about, what is my ultimate purpose? Some people say, well, I just want to be able to go to the range and fling lead. Get a 223. If for that matter, if you only want to shoot like 100, maybe 200 yards, go get a 22 long rifle. If you can squirrel hunt with it, you can rabbit hunt with it. So if you want to get into hunting and you want to hunt small game, great little caliber, 17 HMR, laser accurate little rifles, not expensive to shoot. The rifles themselves, you can get a pretty decent rifle. And guys, talking about the 17 HMR, I have shot just about every gun manufacturer out there that makes a 17 HMR. And I have seen very little difference in accuracy. That round is just a super laser accurate little round. It's just, I don't know what they did and how they engineered it, but it is just a laser accurate little round out of no matter what platform you shoot it out of. Again, squirrel hunt with it. You can shoot a couple hundred yards at the range with it. I shoot mine at 300 yards. On a windy day, even at just 300 yards, you're going to have some wind drift because it's just a little tiny bullet. But you are on a 22 long rifle too, but you can shoot 100, 150, 200 yards easily with them. You can take them to the field and shoot squirrel and, whatnot with them. Not a problem. If you want to hunt deer, you're going to have to step up to, the 223. If you're new in the sport, don't use a 223 for deer hunting. That is going to be reserved for people that are very good at shot placement, that aren't letting their nerves get to them, because it's going to be very easy to wound a deer and never find it. It's super simple to do, and it's super simple to make a very small mistake. So you're going to want the 243 or bigger, just because of that. But if all you're wanting to do is shoot paper, and 223 ammunition is not horribly expensive, or if you have access to be able to reload, you can reload inexpensively for the 223. So it depends. Like I say again, it all depends on your application. I know a lot of people that like to shoot that don't want to hunt, so it's easy for them to get a smaller caliber, because that's all they're doing is putting holes in paper, and that's okay. That's what they want to do. If you want to hunt, you're going to have to do just a little bit more. But as the reason of the video, guys, it is perfectly capable of getting a sporter rifle to go deer hunting with and take to the range and get decent accuracy and print decent on paper. It is very, very easy to do. It's very easy to be done. I've got a friend of mine right now that has a Little Savage Access 243. And he is now hand loading. And the bullets that he's using are different on the range and on the field. But he actually found a full metal jacket that he's using in his 243. And at 100 yards, he's printing just a little over a half an inch. And guys, that's great with a sporter rifle. Don't think that, oh man, I shot a half an inch, that's a horrible. No, you shot great. There are a lot of rifles out there that can't do it. I sadly own a couple of them that are wildly inaccurate no matter what I put in them. So just take these into stride, take these into consideration, decide what you want to do, but most importantly, guys, number one, get something that's within your budget, and then go out and just have fun with it. There's nothing like going out to the range and shooting for me. Whether I'm having a good day or a bad day, you get with a group of your good friends, you go out to the range, you shoot, you laugh, you talk, you just have a great day, and maybe you go out for a hot dog or a pizza afterwards. Whatever you do, it's a lot of fun. If you're going hunting and you're going hunting with a good group of guys, you get around hunting camp, and I said it in my last video, I'll say it again. Some of my best memories aren't shooting the deer or printing good on paper. It's the sitting around the table, telling the stories and spending time with my good buddies. That's what it's all about. And you'll grow good friends, good bonds, and you'll have fun doing it. So, guys, I hope you have fun with it. I hope this helps a little bit. And again, if you guys have any questions about caliber, about bullet choices, about gun manufacturers, about reloading, anything, any type of question, ask us. Walker and I would be more than happy to answer your questions. And I'll tell you right now, if we don't know the answer, we will do our best to find it out. So, drop us a line, leave a comment, email us. We will get back to you. So, guys, from Midwestern Reloaders, have a great evening. And the next time you get out to the range or the deer camp, guys, just have fun with it. And I'm going to enjoy listening to stories of how you guys chose a caliber, why you chose that caliber, and what you're doing with it. So please, let us know. Have a good evening.